Welcome everybody to a new video. Today I'm going over the bosses in veteran Imperial City Prison. Let me just say that in this particular video my friends and I decided to run with 3 DPS and myself as tank. I don't recommend this unless you and the people you run with know the dungeon mechanics and are confident in your team. Otherwise, run this in a standard group with a healer, 2 DPS, and a tank. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into the first boss fight. Overfiend will be the first encounter for this dungeon. I purposely tank this guy right outside the entrance of the room in order to force the ads that will spawn to filter through the door. These ads, which include Dremora Invokers, Feralkins, and Blood Fiends, spawn about every 10-15%. By forcing the group by the door, you can AoE them down easier as they come up. The Overfiend has several AoE abilities. One AoE can potentially stun your DPS, which you want to try to avoid. This ability is called Circle of Corruption. It is a donut-shaped AoE around you and the DPS. If you bash him as he channels it, you can just cancel it out. The other AoE he does happens when he jumps into the air at the tank. There is no way to prevent that AoE damage, so the DPS just has to make sure they are out of melee range when he does this. The other thing of note he does is his flurry. It's a swiping conal attack, which if the tank is keeping him faced away from the DPS, he has nothing to really worry about. At 50% he will summon a harvester. This part can be tricky for the tank if you are using the method I am. You'll have to go into the room so that you can taunt the harvester towards the group, and then go back to your spot on the other side of the door. From here it shouldn't be too much longer for the Overfiend to go down, and then you can DPS down the rest of the ads and the harvester. But the ads do not despawn after the boss dies, so just be aware of that. If you do happen to get killed by the ads, as long as he died before you die to the ads, you won't have to start the fight over. Another method to do this so that you don't tank it the way I'm doing it in the video is a lot of tanks will also just tank the boss by the portal that's in the room, and that's usually where the invokers are spawned from, and the harvester as well, so that way you kind of keep the more dangerous ads nearby for the DPS to kill. Alright, so now let's take a look at that fight, the way my group did it. Alright, so here at the beginning of the fight I bop, and I go into the room and taunt him. You can kind of see the DPS are on the other side of the doorway there. So there's his flurry, and I did not bash that. I should have, but I did not. That was my fault. Hit everyone with a warhorn. There's his jump AoE. Everyone's keeping their distance. Ads are slowly coming towards us. And they're all filtering through the door there. I throw out talons and shield as much as possible. Then here I got stuck, so I did not immediately taunt the harvester to us, but I managed to get out, taunt her. She still kind of makes her way anyway without the taunt, since she's going to head towards where everybody is at anyway. Taunting just helps more to make sure that all her harvester things are on me. And unfortunately, I mess up and I die here. But our DPS were able to kill him before he killed all of us, and that meant we didn't have to redo the fight. So mistakes were made, but we got through it. Next I'm going to talk about mods. I normally don't talk about them, but in ICP it has some of the strongest ones you will face in the game. The ones that cause the most trouble is the Flesh Atronach. The reason being is because if you do not kill them fast enough, they will enrage and one-shot everyone, including the tank. Another thing you'll look out for as you go further into the dungeon are necrotic corvers. They can cause issues as well because they have a poison circle that they spit out. If they stack these one on top of the other, they can one-shot pretty much anybody, tank included. And lastly, you're also going to have necromancers and berserkers in addition to the flesh atronachs in these mob groups. So it can be a bit of a DPS check, especially with those flesh atros if you don't get them down fast enough. Now moving on to the second boss, it is Ibomez the Flesh Sculptor. This is probably the boss that trips up most groups. Personally, we ignore the mechanics involving the poison bombs and the prisoners, but speaking of that mechanic, let's actually talk about it since it is the biggest one you have to look out for. So at the start of the fight, there will be prisoners standing in front of a poison pool in the middle of the room. These prisoners are an example of what the mechanic of this fight does. When 6 prisoners reach the pool, a flesh atronach will spawn. If you do not kill it fast enough, like the other atros you've run into, they will enrage and one-shot everybody. Now around the room, poison bombs are going to appear at random on the ground. When you walk up to it, a synergy will appear that will allow you to throw it. Now these bombs will come into play when Ibomez summons the prisoners to start going into the poison pool. You use the poison bombs to kill off the prisoners and keep them from getting to the pool and summoning a flesh atro. Ibomez will start this channel phase at around 66%, 36%, and 16%. Once he goes to the pool to channel, you can't damage him, although it seems like Templar's Jesus Beam does do some damage, but for the most part, it's hard to do significant damage while he's channeling. Alternatively, too, if you want, the poison bombs can also put a debuff on the atros so that it helps you get them down a little bit faster. Ibomez himself has like 2 major things you need to look out for. The first is his poison spray. He'll swing his sword and a poison spray shoots out from him in a conal AoE. It's very easy to dodge and you definitely don't want to get hit with it because it'll put a dot on you. The next thing he does is his tenderizing. Now he will pick a target at random regardless of taunt aggro and he'll knock them to the ground. He then starts slamming his axe on them, and he'll keep them there until his final swing. That will kill anybody that he has held down, including the tank. However, this attack is interruptible, so if you get tenderized, make sure you let your group know. That way somebody can bash him. Now let's take a look at the boss fight. So for this boss fight, I like to tank him right at the pool, and I try my best not to move him. There you can see the prisoners going into the poison, and then a flesh atro is going to spawn from that. There's the poison spray. My DPS didn't roll out of it in time, but that's okay. Now he's starting his channel, and we haven't taken down the atro yet, but we're not too worried about it. One of my DPS goes off and it starts attacking some of the mobs, and one stays pretty much with me so that they can try to take down this atro by themselves. I believe the other DPS is also helping with prisoner control, but see that atro didn't stay up for too long and it's dead. And we are going to get another one right now. I think we get 2 in this fight. Yeah, they're starting to spawn. And what I do is I just taunt the atros to me and keep them on me and keep them pretty much in the same area that the boss is at, because it just makes AoEing them down so much easier. And it's just a better option to be able to also use the poison bombs when they're all gathered together like that on one spot. And now we're just waiting for him to get out of his channel. So we do take them down pretty quickly, that we have like these small moments where we have nothing to do because we don't really concentrate too hard on prisoner management. And then once he's out of it, just block his heavy attack, they AoE everything down, and they just keep pretty much AoEing things down. And Ibomez goes into his channel phase quite fast when we're doing it, and it's just due to high DPS really. And you can see there towards the end, we just completely ignore everything having to do with the prisoner mechanic. With the exception of the very beginning there, it's just something we don't worry about. Then I believe he's going to tenderize one person here for a second. I could be wrong. Nope, he doesn't even tenderize anybody. But that's the fight. Third boss in this dungeon is going to be the Gravelight Sentry. His major ability to look out for is his AoE explosion. It will knock back the group and you cannot block the knockback like with the other watchers. His lasers are also something that should only be taken by the tanks, so you need to keep him faced away from the DPS at all times. Otherwise it will stun them if hit with it. Another thing of note is the patch of land you will be fighting on is surrounded by poison. This of course turns into an issue when the Gravelight Sentry knocks everyone back, because you get knocked back into the poison. The last thing you really need to know about is the Necromancer ads. There are 5 total around the edge of the island. These ads summon additional skeletons, and they cast their own abilities. The summoning of these ads is interruptible, so if you have a range interrupt, you can certainly keep them from doing it. Also, you're going to have random poison bombs shoot out from the poison pool and onto the patch of land. If you get hit with it, you get stunned. You can block and keep yourself from getting stunned. So you're going to have to be doing a lot of maneuvering around the little bit of land that you have to work with. Now there's 2 ways to deal with this boss. You can either kill the Gravelight Sentry first or kill the ads first. It's up to you how you want to deal with this boss. So when I take this guy, my DPS like to take down the Necromancers first, so I pull him to the farthest end of the island and they start on the farthest Necromancer on the island. That way when he does his AoE explosion, I'm the only one that gets hit with it. If I'm near one of those Necromancers, I try to interrupt them if I get a chance. Otherwise, I pretty much concentrate on keeping the Gravelight Sentry away from my DPS so that they can have an easier time getting rid of the Necromancer ads. Once that is done, they're going to get on the Gravelight Sentry and DPS him down pretty easily. Of course, his AoE knockback is always going to be an issue just because, again, you cannot block through it, so you just kind of have to conserve your stamina as best you can so you can roll out of the poison in case you get knocked in. Unfortunately, we did lose one of our DPS in the fight, but it wasn't too bad of a thing. My other 2 DPS were able to take care of it. It is very hard, or at least it's very annoying to try to revive anybody during this boss fight just because you have so many things that can either stun you or knock you back, and sometimes it's just best to leave somebody dead and try to kill the boss as fast as you can as opposed to sit there and you're trying to revive them. And as you can see, we're going just to leave our DPS and my other 2 are just going to take care of him. There was just too many stuns and too many knockbacks that they had to deal with every time they were trying to revive her. And that's all there is to it. The 4th boss is going to be the Flesh Abomination. Now the highest priority you make in this fight is the necrotic horrors that spawn. 2 will be up at the beginning of the fight, and it's important to kill these horrors or they will stack their poison pools. The tank cannot keep both of them on him or her just because, again, overlapping pools will kill the tank very quickly. They will be spawning throughout the fight, so you need to be vigilant when they are up and making sure you kill them. The next thing to look out for is his ground impulse. The Flesh Atronach will put his hands in the ground. Everyone will get an AoE under their feet. It's important to move away from each other during this phase because you not only don't want to stack the AoEs, but once it explodes, a ring of poison will appear around one person. You cannot get out of this ring because if you try to, you immediately die once you touch any part of the ring. And this is another reason why you don't want to stack too closely. When that AoE explodes, it knocks you up and the ring appears immediately, so anyone knocked up over the area where the ring appears will just instantly die. The person in the ring just stays in the center until it disappears. The Flesh Atro will keep his hands in the ground, and zombies will be spawning from this poison ring. Poison AoEs will also be spawning during this phase. They explode and knock up anyone that's caught in them. Once the phase ends, kill any of the remaining zombies and then get back on boss. The last thing to look out for is his Kamikaze Horrors. 4 Horrors will have a red AoE under their feet, and it will expand out as they move towards the players. The Flesh Atro will move to the center of the room, and then he'll slam his hand down, and the Horrors will explode. You do not want to overlap these, so move away from each other. You cannot attack these Horrors. Any necrotic Horrors that happen to be up during this phase will also get that AoE, which is another good reason why you want to kill them as fast as possible. So let's take a look at that fight. Alright, so for this fight, I taunt the Atro on me, obviously, and I actually take one of the Horrors as well. I let my DPS kind of do AoE damage and take care of the other Horror. And I keep the Flesh Atronach faced away from all of them just because it does have this frontal sweep attack with one of its arms. And that can knock back the DPS, so it's not that big a deal. Again, just have them faced away and it's nothing to worry about. So there he slams his hands into the ground, and you can see we all get that AoE. Everyone's moved away from each other perfectly, and somebody got stuck in the poison ring. That's okay. And below my feet there you see the poison explosions. Yeah, if you get caught in it, you're gonna get knocked back. And the zombies are spawning. Some of them go straight to the DPS, some of them just leave the ring and attack the nearest person they can. Now that the ring's gone, there's still some zombies up, and my DPS are going to take care of that right away. And then looks like we have a Horror up there, and now he's moving to the center. And you can see the 4 that came up and then exploded. We were all pretty well spread out. We didn't have to worry about anything, and that was the fight. Next up is going to be Lord Warden's Council. This fight's been interesting because there are 4 bosses that you need to fight at the same time. There's the Templar that does lots of heals, and you can bash all those heals so that he doesn't extend the fight by keeping the other bosses healthy, or himself for that matter. There's also going to be a Necromancer. He summons a Bone Colossus that goes down pretty easily. The thing you want to look out for is the totem that he creates. He'll leave the group to go create it somewhere off on the side of the room. Make sure you destroy that totem just because it gives all the other bosses a shield. And obviously you don't want that during that fight. The other boss in this fight is the Berserker. He does Nightblade things. Watch out for the Soul Harvest since that will stun you, and it also does a Steel Tornado. And the last boss you need to worry about is the Knight. He is a sword and board, and he mainly does charges, so you need to look out for that so that you don't get run over. Now when you kill them, they're going to leave a shadow of themselves, and this shadow is going to do everything that the boss was doing before, but it's going to do it more often. You cannot taunt him, so if you don't kill them all at around the same time, you're going to have to do a lot of kiting. Otherwise, once you kill the last one, you are done with the bosses. So let's go take a look at this fight. So the room here is kind of unique just because they have those grates with the spikes that come up. But I basically just taunt everything on me and keep them in the center. That way my DPS can AoE them down as evenly as possible. Some of them are going to get damaged more than others. As you can see, the Necromancer ran off to the side there and my DPS chased him down so that they can take the totems away. And there you can kind of see the shield that they get from it. Bash the Templar, keep him from healing. And for the most part, they're almost all at the same health wise. Berserker went down first, Necromancer went down next, Templar, and then the Knight goes down quickly. And that's the end of that. Last but not least is Lord Warden. There's a lot going on in this fight, so let's break it down one at a time. The major mechanic of this fight is his Dark Light Burst. It It is a room-wide AoE that will one-shot everybody. In order to prevent a wipe here, you need to enter the ground portals he summons before this phase. There is usually 2 portals. Each portal has a max use of 2, so you need to coordinate with the group to make sure that there aren't like 3 people trying to use one portal. The portal is going to drop you from the top of the room. You will get a synergy as you fall, and you need to hit that synergy to mitigate some of the fall damage. Important to note that you can use a pot in midair if you need to. If someone accidentally uses a portal before Dark Light bursts, someone should try to clear it to force Lord Warden to summon another portal. Otherwise, somebody is probably going to die in that next Dark Light phase. The next thing to look for is his orbs of damage. When he summons these, the orbs will teleport to a player at random and tether them to it, doing damage over time and applying a slow. You can't break the tether simply by moving away from it. Once they are summoned, they stay for the duration of the fight. Because of this, my group tends to stay away from the center of the room, and we stick to the outer wall as much as possible, simply because we don't want to gather these balls in the center where we drop down after Dark Light burst. Another ability to look for is his Gatling gun. He'll pick somebody at random and he'll shoot dark orbs from his hand at them. Nearby players who are close to the target can get hit. As the tank, I try to position myself between him and whoever the target is and hope I get hit with most of the orbs. Next, at 65% and 35%, Lord Warden is going to split into 4 images around the room in a square formation. They will constantly be dealing ranged damage, and only 2 at a time will be targetable. As a tank, I stand in the middle and taunt all of them to me to keep them off my DPS. The last thing to worry about is the meteor shower if you do hard mode. These will fall constantly during the fight. They will stun and do damage to you if you get hit. If you do not do hard mode though, the meteor shower will only appear during the image split phase. Now for this last boss fight, I'm going to leave our battle audio up so you can kind of get an idea of how we communicate during this last fight. Alright gang, here we go.
I got scared there. I thought I couldn't see him.
He walks the shadows. You can tell because he's a teleporting asshole.
Stay away from the center too. Oh, he's pew-pewing.
You're getting the pew-pew. You eat the pew-pew.
Trying to get away from this ball. Careful.
I wanna run.
Sir, I taunted you like 5 times. I'm running to the this one.
I'm going with Lars.
Good job, good job. Block until I get them all taunted.
Don't tell me what to do.
Fine.
Don't tell me how to live my life.
Fine. Why is there a portal still out?
Because he spawned a portal.
Oh.
And then he went into his... He went into his I'm a little bitch, I'm gonna hide phase.
Okay. Very good.
Alright.
Okay.
Back in business.
Careful.
Portal.
The portal's out. Stay out of the center. I'm going to the one underneath him. Oh my god.
Farther, farther. Just pick
Get
one.
into one.
just pick an area.
Shit, I... and one.
Uh-oh. Just be pewing careful. clear that? Somebody want to clear that? Ah, shit. No, they're right on top of each other.
Scared. Scared. Hold me.
Fuck.
Where'd he go?
Went to the other side.
Asshole.
Alright, somebody's gonna die in this next one then, when he does his thing. Alright,
No,
he's
they're
splitting.
not.
No, we're not. Alright, alright.
Okay, should I clear it and then hope that he spawns a portal?
Oof, that's a tough one. I don't know.
No, just let it be. Like, don't risk it for the biscuit.
I like how I just rendered one that just turned invincible. That's really gonna help.
It's alright. Alright. Oh, she's pew-pewing.
What's on me?
Fuck, fuck, fuck.
Vigor!
Bigger for the win!
Come on, spot a third portal for once in your stupid life. When we actually
Come on.
need one.
Fuck, alright, I'm just gonna go into one.
I'm going for the one with one use.
I'll die.
Except death.
Yeah.
Alright.
Basically.
Gotcha.
Alright, portal's down, careful. It's pew-pewing. Come on.
Oh, I didn't realize that was coming.
It's okay, it's okay. Come on.
Yeah, fuck you, bro.
Yeah! Good job.